Welcome back to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blond, and it's been a long time since we last talked. We have taken a long break since, I don't know when, to be very honest with you, but with the NHL playoffs around the corner, consider this the preview of the Stanley Cup final, and we got a mixture of betting action to look forward to, but also just in general for you NHL fans out there, my thoughts, my takes on many of the directions of these teams and what the playoffs look like. Again, this is the preview episode of the Overrated Experience NHL edition. We are found on X at Overrated Expert2. That's Overrated Expert2. And welcome back. Wow, it's been a long journey, a long time. I just spent 10 minutes trying to figure out if I wanted to pull the trigger on doing a live streaming instead of just the audio podcast. Wow, what a pain in the ass. Checking privacy settings, checking all those things that involve trying to go online on X and also YouTube. I can't, millions of people around the world do this, no problem. But when you try to quickly do it, yourself, things go wrong. So hopefully I'll get that going. And maybe, just maybe, the live streaming will be a part of the preview of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, this is the preview to the preview, so we're not going to go that far and do the live stream. I'm hoping to aim for the pre-betting view of the 2025 edition of the NHL playoffs Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, whenever the time and allows me to do so. But here we are, another season almost coming to the books, being in Toronto. Of course, the thought is, where do the Toronto Maple Leafs stand right now? Well, I can tell you today they played their 80th game. They played in Carolina. And they can pretty much shore up the Metropolitan Division. The Atlantic Division in the NHL. And if there's a team that needs an actual division win, I think out of the Atlantic Division, it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs currently sit 4 points ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which also has played 79 games. The Florida Panthers sit 4 points back in the Atlantic Division with 80 games played. So I think they're probably out of it. But the Leafs played today. They take on the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes don't have much to play for. They're already locked into a series with the New Jersey Devils, which I'll talk to in a bit. But a lot going on. So if you look down the schedule today, keep in mind, you bettors out there, for some of the action that's going to go on today, which the first puck drop is in New Jersey. And Islanders, Devils, really nothing much to play for there. Sens, Flyers. I got to believe at 1 o'clock that the Flyers and Sens, as puck drops, the Senators really don't fear after Montreal's loss last night, even though they gained a point, that there's a risk that they will drop out of the 7th seed, or I guess you would say the first wild card spot. Likely to play the Atlantic Division winning Toronto Maple Leafs, but that could change in the next 3 games starting today. For the Leafs, Boston, Pittsburgh, what a write-off, what a waste of time. If you look at Pittsburgh, I shake my head. I get it. Sid the Kid, he's the face of the Pittsburgh Penguins, legend, NHL legend, scored the golden goal, really signifies Canada hockey, but I had to believe that he still has some juice left where he wanted to contend, going another playoff run, and chose not to open the door to a trade for the Penguins. Not to say I believe Kyle Dubas and the Penguins are smart enough to get value. However, the Penguins are going to be in a tough spot heading into next season and maybe a few seasons. They're going to have to retool. They may have to go from the foundation after Malkin and Crosby leave and Letang leaves, and what do you do with Erik Karlsson? They went all in for this last run, and that last run fell on their face. And former Leaf general manager Kyle Dubas really didn't have any magic. His analytics didn't work, or whatever he was trying to do just isn't cutting it in Pittsburgh. So does he have a future? We'll find out as well. Buffalo into Tampa. Tampa trying to keep on top of the Leafs, so I expect them at minus 275 to smack the Sabres around. The Sabres really got nothing to play for. Blue Jackets, which are a team that is in the hunt, dropped off late in the season and have made a surge back. And what do we got here for the Blue Jackets? Let's just look at the wild card standings here. The Blue Jackets must win. They got 3 games remaining. They're 5 points behind the Montreal Canadiens. So basically, They need every win. They can't lose in a shootout and overtime. They got to go for it. So that might make it interesting as this game creeps down to the later minutes in the game. If Washington, which really has nothing to play for right now, this, is up 3-2. Sorry, what would you say? 3-3. I'm trying to think of what would be the best thing for the Blue Jackets. Like they may have to make wild decisions within a game to keep that 2 points in mind. That they cannot rely on a chance to not score points. So who knows? Does this evolve something crazy like pulling your goaltender in overtime if your team has possession to go all in for it? I don't know, but that allows you to put the destiny in your hands, and that's what the Jackets got to do. Moving on later that night, the Edmonton Oilers and Winnipeg Jets. Oilers really look like they're locked into starting on the road in LA to take on the Kings. The Jets going to be President's Trophy winning team. I do not think they get the respect that they probably deserve as the President's best team in the NHL record-wise. I just want to make sure I got that right. So 109 Jets. The Jets got 114. They've locked in. They are not the favorite to win the Stanley Cup. We'll get to that in a second here, it doesn't mean you're a President's Trophy winner that you should be favored, but I don't know what else they can do to get the investors out there, aka you bettors, any sort of assurances that they can make a Stanley Cup run. But that's part of it too, right? Do you envision the Winnipeg Jets in a Stanley Cup final holding a Stanley Cup up? Like it's just something about the Winnipeg Jets, regardless of how well they've played this year, you just don't believe what they're doing. And then you got the San Jose Sharks, which are an up-and-coming team. We'll see where that goes with Macklin Celebrini taking on the Calgary Flames. Desperate for a win. They also are in a position, if they want to stay alive in this race anyway, anyhow, they need to get the 2 points. And they have a 4-point window. They got 2 points. Actually, they have 2 games in hand on St. Louis. So there is a shot. There's a chance. But they need wins, and they need to win tonight. They need to take care of the San Jose Sharks, and they're basically the last team in the Western Conference that has a shot. Along with Columbus is the only team in the Eastern Conference that actually has a shot to make the playoffs. Slim to none. We'll see if that leaves town tonight. So we also have the Colorado Avalanche, Anaheim Ducks. Keep in mind that the Avalanche in their last game decided to sit Nathan MacKinnon. He will not travel with the Avalanche to take on the Ducks. So if you're betting that game, keep that in mind. You might look at the Anaheim Ducks as a maybe value here. Colorado's really got nothing to play for. Who else? There's also a story with the goaltending in. It's Mackenzie Blackwood is. Mackenzie Blackwood. Is he healthy? Yeah, I guess, I don't know. He might be a little banged up. I don't know. But, the goaltending situation in Colorado was rectified late this year to get them on track, and they're motoring into the playoffs. It looks like, who's Colorado going to have here? So Colorado looks like they're probably going to match up against the... Oh, okay, hold on. Colorado looks like they're probably going to match up against the Dallas Stars, which probably would be the primo matchup of the NHL playoffs. So as we get to our preview later in the week, we'll find out what the betting lines look at, but there's some stories that we should look at for teams that did not make the playoffs and really maybe the direction that their franchises need to go. So you look at the Vancouver Canucks, really coming off a strong initial season for Rick Tocchet. Now it looks like the stock is down on him. Do they keep him behind the bench or they move on? Brock Besser stated he doesn't see himself coming back with the Canucks. You remember that debacle with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. Pettersson's gone for the rest of the season, even though there's not much left. He had a kind of a downer as well. His production has dropped and not to where, the Canucks expect him to be. But where do you go next year? I think the Canucks are in a weird spot. They don't look like they're in a position to completely really tear it apart. I think they're going to go forward with probably retaining Rick Tocchet. When you have Quentin Hughes on the back end, who's probably going to be your Norris Trophy winner, you can't really tear down. You got to really build from the back. Thatcher Demko, had a struggle this season to stay healthy, but when he's healthy, man, he's a top-notch goaltender and a difference maker. So they really got to assess, is Thatcher Demko going to be able to carry a heavier load and stay healthy, because it's a big difference in their season. And I can't stress enough, though, Elias Pettersson, their 26-year-old superstar, or was a superstar, maybe he's lost it. Maybe his stock is down. Will he recover? I don't know if the Canucks have a choice to necessarily move on or think about moving on versus let's make a run at it. But you really got to go into next season. And it's really got to be the measuring stick of where this organization's going, because if Patterson can't go and he cannot retain his form, and that trade where JT Miller left to go to the Rangers, hopefully getting rid of the issue in the room, the Canucks are in big trouble and or have to make a decision. Again, with Quentin Hughes in the back end, I don't think that decision is going to be a complete teardown after next season, but you got to believe some significant decisions need to be made in Vancouver to get back to where they want to be, and that's a playoff contender. So a lot to think about on the West Coast, but tough season this season. Other Canadian teams, you look at Calgary Flames, we talked about where they are. They got Wolf and Net, some bright spots there, but I mean, do you really see this franchise really putting together 3 straight wins in St. Louis, floundering the rest of the way? That last game they got to play, I just don't see it happening. And Calgary, they're really holding on to, they get that new rink, maybe that new revenue, that new shine on the organization where they can attract talent. Because right now they're kind of in a bland situation in Calgary. Boston Bruins, actually that's an unknown, right? What's the plan in Boston? It's hard for me to, even though despite all the moves at the trade deadline, to picture the Boston Bruins a team that will call it quits for a couple of years. I don't see it. I got to believe they'll tip their toe into the free agency market. They got Pasta there for a lengthy period of time. Not too long ago, signed a lengthier contract, a pretty big one. You have Swayman and Net. You have you still have Charlie McAvoy. You got some nice pieces there to build around. So we'll see where they go. But the Boston Bruins are probably a very interesting story. I don't know what way they'll do it. They have a winning mentality. So I won't be surprised if they do something to kind of kick back their playoff hunt next year, despite what it looks like today. Other teams, Philadelphia Flyers, man, this is a team that's in flux. Somebody asked the question about, do you picture that John Tortorella will coach again? I got to think that ship has sailed, guys. I really do. I think the John Tortorella ship has sailed. The John Tortorella, he's a Stanley Cup champion winning coach with the Tampa Bay Lightning years ago, and that was during when you could still get whistled for a 2-line pass. It's a long time ago. He's had some success in regular season successes with the Rangers, had time in Columbus, now Philadelphia, brief time in Vancouver. So here's where hockey is weird. The NHL still has an element of the old boys school club, like the Lou Lamoriellos in Long Island with the stupid facial hair crap. John Tortorella may come across somebody's radar, an owner who feels that their team needs discipline and or a hard-nosed coach. But guys, that time is done. I think he has a short time frame of tolerance with today's NHL players, and I just would warn anybody not to pull the trigger on it's going to end the same way it happened in Philadelphia. This team is getting pasted night in and night out. There was not even progress that you could see that was shone from like the Philadelphia Flyers. And the NHL is a better place with the Philadelphia Flyers being a contender. So they got to do something. They got to get their head out of their ass and put together, make the right free agent signings, whatever they may be. Maybe they got to make a splash. Maybe they jump in and go for a Mitch Marner, something to kind of shake things up in Philadelphia because they're going the wrong way, and the NHL needs those Broad Street Bullies back into relevance, and they're simply not relevant in today's game at the moment. So a lot to think about, and if you look at the betting lines here, we're going to look at this is the preview to the preview of what's going on. Let's see the Stanley Cup, the Dallas Stars are currently right now, heading into, the preview to the preview, the Dallas Stars are the current betting odds to win the Stanley Cup. Do you buy that? Do you really buy that? Do you buy that the NHL, at the end of the day, you're going to see Jamie Benn lift the Stanley Cup for the Dallas Stars? I just don't see it. The Dallas Stars are plus 650, Florida 650. They're up. I guess you could say they're both 1A, 1B Stanley Cup favorites, but how do you not clearly look at Florida ahead of Dallas in this? And the only reason I guess that is because of the first round matchup against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who also could make a run. It could be a value play when it comes to making a run at the Stanley Cup. They've reshuffled. They're already down to Tampa Bay's plus 1,000. You tell me if they don't get by Tampa Bay, and why can't they? With Vasilevsky in net, Jake Getzel, they kind of swapped out an aging Steve Stamkos for Jake Getzel. Smart. Very smart. That's why this organization is the way they are. And you forget there was not too many years ago where they were making a three-peat back to the final, two of which resulted in rings. They have juice. Kucherov, 116 points, I think it was. Mr. Assist Man. They got depth. They got, Hedman is a rock solid man, the guy in the back end. I think we're forgetting about the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're plus 1,000, which I think is value at this moment. Carolina plus 750 is in the 3-hole. I don't buy them, man. What if they don't score in the playoffs? They don't make the run that you expect them. They had this whole debacle, earlier in the trade deadline. It just Natchez is gone. They could not just get things together, and I just don't see them doing it now. Am I impressed by their goaltending, Freddie Anderson and team there? I don't know. I don't see it. Vegas 850 plus 850. Well, they've been there, done it before. They got the horses. They got the back end. You got the Noel Hannafins of the world, and you got losing train of thought here, but you got pretty much good depth there. Aiden Hill, didn't think he'd be the guy that'd be taking teams to a Stanley Cup run or part of a Team Canada roster, which we've seen in the Four Nations. So he's a big factor there. Washington plus 1,000. No respect for the Capitals. No respect for Ovi. No respect for what they did in the regular season and winning the Metropolitan. That's very surprising. They're a little banged up right now. Ovi getting a rest. I forgot to mention that today. So he's getting a rest. Chychrun a little banged up. So I got to believe these are just resting before they get to the playoffs. But plus 1,000 for the Capitals. Very, very surprising. Edmonton plus 950. Man, it always comes back to Stuart Skinner, doesn't it? The goaltending of the Edmonton Oilers is always a question. Stuart Skinner got the job done for the most part last year in the playoffs, which resulted in, when they got good goaltending, they got to the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Can they not make this run again with McDavid and Draisaitl? Hopefully healthy. McDavid return. I know Draisaitl's on the sideline waiting to return, probably for the playoffs. Will they make another run again? Why can't they? I mean, you got the horses, Zach Hyman's of the world. They got depth. I just think they're 950. If you said that last year, I would say that's probably where they need to be, even though they were near the top. So I think they're getting a little disrespected when it comes to Stanley Cup odds. Colorado plus 850. Again, goaltending, Wedgwood, those guys in Colorado really got them to the point they are now. I don't know. I'm not sold. I'm just not sold. Makar, Natchez was obviously a great pickup, but will they get through Dallas? I don't know. And again, when we're talking about Dallas being a plus 650 odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and they got to go through Colorado in the first round, a little iffy on that. And go down the board, the Leafs are plus 1,300. The belief, just because they haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967, just doesn't mean they can't be their year. I got to see it to believe it. I want the Leafs, obviously, from being Toronto. I am just critical that I got to see them click on the power play. When last two games against Florida and last night against Montreal, there were struggles on the power play. They did not look dominant, and that's their bread and butter. LA Kings down to plus 2,100, Sens down to 3,800, and Devils down to 4,500. And the Devils, speaking of the Devils, they are in the only series that is locked 100% in right now. And right now they have the Eastern Conference. Right now the Hurricanes are minus 275 over the Devils. Not surprising. Devils are kind of bland. Kind of what do we got? No Jack Hughes. He's done, and he's their guy. I mean, they've done a great job to make the playoffs, but I see this a pretty quick one and out. Even though I'm not sold in Carolina, I do see Carolina walking over the Devils. Unless you have Jacob Markstrom in net for the Devils, stand on his head, which he absolutely could. I just don't see it. Just don't see it happening, boys. Sorry. Ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. So that's the only series locked in at this very second. Actually, sorry, Dallas and Colorado. So right now it's split. Dallas minus 110. Colorado minus 110. Total games, the consensus is over under 5.5. So I think people are at least thinking it's going 6 because we've got minus 192. That makes sense. Maybe you do see a team not dominate right off the bat, but maybe you will. And let me just jump. Maybe I forgot that the Kings now are locked into playing the Oilers. Oilers are a minus 140 over the Kings at the moment, plus 116. Total games in this series look like to be over 5.5, minus 188. Again, folks believe that this is going 6 or more. The Kings are. Yeah, Kings are tough at home. I mean, I guess people's thoughts are they're at least going to squeeze out 2 at home with their play of late. So a lot of things going on there in the NHL, and that's the kind of Stanley Cup odds when it comes to that. And then we got awards. So early awards for the NHL, and that's the regular season awards. And I think there's been really a decline in the value of where these awards come from. I think we're more in tune that when we have somebody who wins the Hart Trophy but fizzles out in the first round, it really takes a shine off that award. And right now, if you're looking at the Hart Trophy, it's not surprising. Connor Hellebuck, goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets, the President's Trophy. Winnipeg Jets is a heavy minus 135 favorite. It's followed by Leon Draisaitl and pretty much no one else. Like Kucherov's plus 7,500. Draisaitl may... if he was healthy the last few games, he might have been the guy. And I just don't see it. You had Connor Hellebuck and a President's Trophy winning team in the regular season. It's hard to argue that he's not the guy. So I wonder who the Vezina Trophy favorite is for best goaltender. Yeah, you got it. Connor Hellebuck minus 20,000 versus the field. And it's pretty hard to bet against a guy that is up for a Hart Trophy and favorite to win league MVP. And later we'll find out who actually will be up for the Vezina. What's the point? Does anybody really care to put their name as a potential, just a face of an award show, knowing you're not going to win this by a long shot? No way. No way at all, sir. And then we got here's an interesting one, though. I think you want to keep an eye on this as you get into the playoffs. Conn Smythe Trophy winner for the NHL's playoff MVP. Favorite is Connor Hellebuck, plus 1,500. Man, I mean, if the Jets make a run, he's going to be the guy. But do you see the Jets making a run? You got Connor McDavid at plus 1,800. He made a run last year. Game 7 kind of took that Conn Smythe away from him. Nathan McKinnon, plus 1,900. If there's a guy to do it, he could be the guy. Jack Eichel, yes, but I think that Vegas team is kind of split around, production from the Mark Stones of the world and just a lot of guys that I think may take the shine. There's that word again, take the shine of a guy like Jack Eichel. Jake Ottinger, plus 2,100 for the Dallas Stars goaltender. Really, I'm not sold yet. Barkov for the Panthers. He's too quiet. He's not the guy. Cale Makar is a guy who could do it. But open season on the Conn Smythe Trophy there. So a lot to think about. So as we get into the preview, look at the series, we're going to break down, what's on the line for a lot of these teams. What's in the, where do teams go if they don't get to a spot in the playoffs where, they expect to be, a.k.a. the Toronto Maple Leafs. Where do the Dallas Stars go? Where do the Tampa Bay Lightning do if they can't make a run? What's the fate of the Montreal Canadiens, who has surprisingly jumped into a wild card spot? What do they do going into the offseason next year? Do they make a run this year? They have a knack of being a lower seed and kind of surprising some teams. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but why not? They seem to do it. I hate Montreal, but they tend to step up. So a lot of things to think about when it comes to the what-ifs that are the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'm going to throw out something else off topic here. Just reminded me, Twitter I talked to about last week when the Canucks came back and won a hockey game after scoring 3 goals in under a minute to tie the game up heading into overtime. And I tweeted out, and this is why you shouldn't really react to responses on Twitter. So my tweet was, or X, whatever the frig you call it, had more to do with the mentality of some coaches in the NHL still, where you have a group of coaches that with down 3 goals in the third period, pick their spots and pull their goaltender because you know what? They have 0 to lose, nothing to lose. They decide to pull the goaltender, see if they can make a game of it. Some do it earlier than others. Some, and you know what? Surprisingly, some don't do it at all. And my point is I said the statement, you'd be surprised how many teams do this. Don't pull their goalie. And then you got, 50, 60 likes and then you got people going, oh, it's happened for the first time. Didn't they just literally say it happened for the first time? It wasn't my point that 3 goals were scored under a minute happens all the time. My point was that there are still a section of coaches out there that I shake my head that, whatever reason, saving face or whatever it may be, down 3 goals, regardless of what time is left in the third period, decide not to pull their goaltender for what? Go down 4 goals? Who gives a shit? So that's my point. Believe me, if you lived and died on what you got back on Twitter, you'd be in a bad place because it is a cesspool, maybe a necessary cesspool for us sports fans to get our information and communicate, but there are times it can be a cesspool for sure. And then beyond this, beyond the NHL action that won't be included in the NHL preview, is we got the NFL draft coming up. The NFL draft is, could change teams' trajectories over the next few years. A lot of chatter on the betting side of the draft. A lot of exciting stuff that's going on right now. You have the draft that is Cam Ward, quarterback, is a heavy favorite to go first overall to the Tennessee Titans. Abdul Carter to the Browns, second overall. Travis Hunter, interesting, out of Colorado. Will he go to the Giants? Will he strictly be a defensive back? Will he strictly be a wide receiver? Will he be a full-time wide receiver and defensive back, or full-time DB and a part-time receiver, or a full-time receiver being a part-time DB? Interesting, depending on who you talk to. Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, the second-rated quarterback in the NFL draft, at least to some, is looking like he may drop, and drop to who? Well, the New Orleans Saints, I believe, have the 8th pick. Let's go to a mock draft here. NFL mock draft. Here we go. NFL mock draft. Just curious of what we got here on CBS Football. We have first round. They say Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Then we get to pick number 7, pick number 8. Carolina, pick number 9 are the New Orleans Saints. And you got to believe with Derek Carr coming out this week, well, not him, but I guess the team talking about his shoulder has a few, if not a lot, of question mark. Can he go? Right away, quarterback has a throwing shoulder issue, and you're thinking he may or may not be ready for the regular season or may miss significant time. Even if he comes back, do you really want to bank your season on that shoulder? Well, here's my thought here is Shedeur Sanders, the Saints are in the best position possible right now. If he drops to number 9, right now you have every right to go take him because right now you have no decision to make. I mean, the decision would have been, do I stick with Derek Carr for the next couple of years or do I draft a quarterback? Well, I think the decision's been made for you already. Your quarterback right now has a wonky shoulder, and you have a quarterback in the first round that has high potential. Some people are doubting it, but what do you got to lose right now? He's got a lot of snaps in college. He can get in there, maybe make a difference. So I think it's going to fall the right way for the Saints, unless, now here's where they may get screwed. 8 teams ahead of the Saints know that probably their mouth is watering to make sure that Sanders gets to number 9. So I am sure their phone is ringing on teams that are either threatening to trade out of the first 8 picks, excuse me, and kind of hinting at other teams are sniffing around for a quarterback after Cam Ward goes off the books. And I got to believe that they're going to be held to ransom to give up something to ensure that they either can move up or solidify that a team will not draft Shorter Sanders until it gets to 9. So be interesting to see what leads up in the next couple weeks. The New Orleans Saints have no leverage, and they got to sweat it out. 8 picks until number 9 is called, and Sanders is still there. But I am sure everybody has the Saints GM's cell phone number to let them know what is going on and what they would like to do to save that quarterback slot. So interesting stuff when it comes to the NHL and the upcoming NFL draft, and maybe we'll do a live stream for that if we ever get it goddamn working. Anyway, that was the Overrated Experience preview to the preview of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We look at the betting lines leading into the weekend, which Easter weekend's also WrestleMania weekend for you wrestling fans out there. The Overrated Experience, I got to believe the pleasure was all yours, but the Overrated Experience is over and out. Bye-bye.